Hello and welcome to our Year with the Ears, our daily vlog where we relive our year living in the Walt Disney World resorts in 2019. Today is day 158.
This morning, despite getting in very early this morning, about 2:30 back at our resort here at Art of Animation, we did not sleep in because we have somewhere to be. We're actually very excited about this. So we took the bus over to Disney Springs and then decided to walk to the hotel we were going to, not realizing how far the walk was going to be. We thought it was right near Disney Springs. As it turns out, right near is a very relative term.
Yeah, there's a whole list of Disney Springs resorts, and we thought the one we were going to was the one that's just right across the street from Disney Springs. And we thought wrong. Yeah, it was not the one right across the street. It was the one furthest away from Disney Springs on the street. So we crossed over the big bridge there and we're walking down the sidewalk and realized that was not the right hotel. So we just kept walking and walking and walking and walking and finally made it to the hotel we were trying to get to.
We were relieved to finally see the sign for the DoubleTree, which is where we were headed, thinking it was much closer than it was. At some point you have to keep going though. We were already committed and we just kept thinking it was a little further.
You're already so far in, like sunk cost, right? I think maybe next time we should check Google Maps before we actually start walking, but lesson learned.
In our defense, we were still very tired from last night, so it just didn't click. But we made it here because the person we had lunch with yesterday is a travel agency owner, and he reached out to us several months ago and asked if we would be willing to talk to several of his travel agents who are here in town. They're doing a little get together, just kind of training and learning, going to Disney together. And he asked if we would spend 30 minutes to an hour just talking about the business side of what we learned from Disney and also the magic that we've still gotten to enjoy here at Disney World. We also did a small Q&A time, but the best part about this for us was several of these travel agents already follow us on social media and did not know we were coming. Now, we didn't know this till right before we were about to walk in. He goes, "Oh, by the way, most of them don't know you're coming." And so we walked in and everyone was so excited to see us. We were the surprise, which was just really fun. It was really cool. And we really enjoyed getting to talk to them and answering questions that they had. And afterwards, we all had lunch together. And one of my favorite things that happened was Robert and I went to sit at the table in two different places. That way we could talk to more people. And they're like, "Oh, no, you guys can sit together. We'll move around." And we're like, "No, really, it's okay. We can talk to more of you if we spread out." And they're like, "Oh, we don't want to separate you two." And we went, "We are literally together 24/7. It will actually be wonderful for us to talk to you all and then have a conversation later about what we talked about because we're always together." And it just made us laugh because they thought they were splitting us up and we were more than happy to be separated at the table.
Yeah, I mean, how many of you would like to live in a couple 100 square foot hotel room with your spouse for the better part of 6 months? I think a little bit of time at the opposite end of the table from each other is not going to hurt us at all.
Not that we hate living together, but it was just nice to have different conversation and talk to people and then be able to talk about it later together, all the different things we learned and conversations we had.
Now, when everything was over, they told us about their plans. They've got something special going on in one of the parks, and they invited us along, which is a surprise for us, and we're very excited about that, so we'll be hanging out with all of them again. Since we were done speaking, we decided to walk back over to Disney Springs, and on the way leaving the hotel there, they actually had the sprinklers on by the sidewalk, and apparently they weren't aimed correctly because they were kind of crisscrossing the sidewalk, and we had to kind of do this running, dodging, jumping thing to get around the sprinklers and not get totally soaked.
We were playing the game, can we dodge the sprinklers?
We're gonna find out. They're all moving, crisscrossing each other on the sidewalk here, and we really don't want to get wet.
You see them? Oh, this one's spraying that way now. Okay. Go, go, go! Thankfully, we made it through without getting wet, but they really should point those a different direction besides the sidewalk. That seems kind of pointless to me. We did finally make it back to Springs, and we were so excited because we cannot go to Disney Springs without stopping at the pin station. And we went there, and they were not doing normal pin trading today. They were actually doing kind of a game, I guess would be the best way to describe it.
Like a mystery box.
Yeah, it's really cool. So they have a little spinner, and you spin it. And whatever character it lands on, you're allowed to choose from the pins in that character's box. It's really awesome because you may not get the same options as the person you're with or the people in front of you. It's really exciting because you have no idea what your options are going to be. So we did have to stop and see if there were any pins we wanted to trade. there weren't, but we still had a lot of fun doing it. We then got on a bus back to Art of Animation, but we only stayed here a few minutes. We just needed to grab our laptops, and we're heading over to Epcot because the Wi-Fi in the buildings here at Art of Animation is not good.
Yeah, not so
And so we need to go where we know the Wi-Fi is very good. So we headed over to Epcot to the DVC Lounge that we visit so frequently and stayed here for about 4 hours, basically until the end of the day. As we were on our way to the DVC Lounge, I saw someone that looked familiar, but I couldn't tell. They were a little far away. But as they got closer, I'm like, I think that's someone I know. So I kept getting closer and closer and kind of waiting. And finally I was like, no, that's definitely him. Someone my brother went to high school with was at the park at the same time. Neither of us knew we were going to be there today. I didn't even know he was in town, and we stopped and talked for about half an hour because I've not seen them in a really long time. But it was so good to see him, and of course we immediately took a picture and sent it to my brother and said, look who we saw today. It's always so much fun to see people you know, but especially at Disney World. There's just something super exciting about it. And then we did make our way to the lounge and work until they closed at 6 o'clock.
Once they kicked us out of the lounge because they closed, we went back to the front of Epcot and got on a bus to go to Wilderness Lodge, not back to Art of Animation because I'm going to work on the car tonight. However, when we got there, I was hungry and so was Alyssa, so we decided to get some food. And at Wilderness Lodge, we always go to Geyser Point and get a bison burger. So we thought today would be a good day to change things up. So we decided to go to Roaring Fork, which is the other quick service location there at Wilderness Lodge. Alyssa got a regular cheeseburger, not a bison cheeseburger, just a regular cheeseburger with fries. And then I got the chicken and waffles, which is basically chicken tenders and Mickey waffles with some syrup and some maple butter.
Yep.
I mean, it wasn't bad. It was just, I thought chicken and waffles, something was very different than like some Mickey waffles and some chicken tenders, but it was okay.
It actually looked like a kid's meal when they handed it to him, which I was kind of surprised by. And I learned from my cheeseburger that while it was good, I will just get a bison burger from now on because between those two options, I mean, there's really no choice there. The bison burger will always win.
Once we were done eating, I did head out to the car, and Alyssa came with me for at least part of the time. And this was the next kind of fix on the list. It was a little more expensive, and this is kind of our last ditch effort. If this doesn't work, I'm not sure what we're gonna do. So I went to installing it, and this was a pretty tricky piece to install. So it took me several hours to get the old one out and get the new one in and get everything hooked up the right way and try to test it and then go back and tweak the way it's set up again and call my dad and make sure I was doing it all right. And by the time I finished it all, it had been several hours and it was all installed. I called my dad. I'm like, okay, it's installed now. Anything else I need to do special? Like, no, he's like, just start the car and that should take care of it. So I started the car up and it almost started and it didn't start. And so I tried it again and it started and it was running and then it died. I was like, okay, one more time. Started it up, it wouldn't start. Yeah, the problem is still there. I checked the codes and cleared it out and made sure like new codes, yeah, same old codes. It's all back. It's not gonna run. And so I'm talking to my dad and I said, okay, well, that's not the problem. And so I'm kind of out of options at this point. You said there might be something else it could be. Let me know what I need to buy next and what I need to try and install next and see if that'll fix it. And he's like, well, I think the only option left is something that you're not going to have the tools for. Let me look into it. Let me get back to you and we'll kind of figure it out from there. I was like, okay, well, that's what we got to do. So we're going to head back to our resort. It's very late. Again, we're both very tired. And instead of taking the bus to Disney Springs to then get a bus to Art of Animation and all that, we decided to just Uber and spend the money because we want to go to bed. We want to get back to the resort. I want to clean up because I've got, oil and diesel fuel and everything all over me. So we went back to Art of Animation in an Uber, and that was the end of our day today. So we'll see you tomorrow
For Our Year with the Ears.